And I think that speaks volumes to what I'm really passionate about. So I think I want to preface that. I think I can really start my journey in elementary school. I have always been a kid who's been very vocal and very chatty. I think a little too much. And you know, I was told by like a lot of like my teachers, you know, just stop talking, just stop. We're gonna put you in the back of the class, and you're not gonna talk. And they're like, we're gonna put him next to a kid that he can't possibly like talk with. They were wrong every single time. I could always find a way to talk about something, and it was always like, good grades, talks too much. And then like, mom would come in and she would be like, so what's going on with my kid? Really smart kid. Can't stop talking. Know your place and stop talking. And I had a, you know, elementary school teacher who kind of like sat down. She's like, what are you trying to say? Like, you're talking. I was like, but what are you really trying to say? And I never really like processed that. She was like, you have a great story. You always like to talk. How about we use that for something good? How about we start using that power of yours for something beautiful? And from then on, like, my perspective started to change as far as to what I saw were my defeats in life and what were my outlooks. And I was, man, I applied for my first $50 like Kave scholarship, and it changed everything. I talked about what it was like being a first generation student, what it was like having a single parent work day and night to put you ahead, to have a sister who had to put her projects aside to make sure that you got ahead. And it won me that beautiful scholarship. And I remember sitting in the car and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I was like, I want more of this. I was like, I really want more of this. Like, I want to be able to make those connections, be in those inner circles, feel like my story has something valuable. So I transitioned into middle school, and it was exciting. I got into the Avid program, same as well. My God, I owe everything to that program. I owe everything to those administrators in Sweetwater Union High School District. And from then on, I was like, this is it, right? Like, I'm smart, I got all this stuff. I'm really gonna hit it when I get into high school. It was like, no parties, no fun. Like, I'm like, this is it. I was like, I'm gonna get into like the best of the best. I'm gonna do as far as I can. I went full throttle. I had 0 period and 7th period. I would be at school by 5 in the morning and I would leave around 6:30 at night. So it was like a full-time job. Finishing that, then going back home, and my family had a daycare, so we would come back and they would be like, all right, we gotta clean every single one of the toys, so we gotta do that, and then you got time to study, and then again, and again, and again, and again. Doing all these clubs, all these activities. I was in like 15 different clubs. It was like full rampage, and I was like, this is it. This is what's gonna get my story out there. If I just do everything that I physically can, it's all gonna be worth it. And I remember sitting in my room, sort of the pandemic was there. I had just finished a meeting with two of my great good friends that were in Key Club, and I had been up that morning since like, it was like 3 in the morning. I remember just sitting there, and like my vision just started coming in and out. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what's happening? And like I remember just looking at my friend, and I was like, 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, and I closed the computer and I started coughing, and I just remember like seeing on my hand just blood. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, something's wrong. I was like, oh. 2 seconds, I was on the floor. And I remember just laying there and I was like, I can't move. I was like, I can't move. And I ended up going to the children's hospital, and I stayed there for about a week. Doctors tried looking after everything. They were trying to pinpoint what it was. They're like, everything is coming back positive. I was like, and I don't know what's going on. I was like, we're gonna do some blood work, see what's going on. And after a while, I remember for these very tense and stressful moments that my doctor sat in the corner of my bed and he was staring at me. And I was sitting there with like tubes everywhere, and I was like, you're scaring me, doc. What's going on? What's going on? And he was like, there's nothing wrong with you. I was like, but I was like, I gotta speak to your friends and your family. I was like, I was like, are on the road path to having a stroke and a heart attack. I was like, you are experiencing stress levels beyond what I've seen in some of these people. I was like, you're managing your job, your school, your work, your applications as if you were an adult. I was like, your 14 to 15-year-old body cannot handle everything that you've coupled into your life. I was like, and if you keep on doing what you're doing, I will see you in here in less than a month with a stroke. I was like, no doubt. I was like, and it will be really hard to recover after that. And I sat down and I had to process that. Because what I had originally thought, this is my strength now, this is what I want to do, and I want to be the A game, and I want to be the top student, and this is what I am, and I fumbled it all. And I thought there's something wrong with me, it can't possibly be this, like, what's going on? And I sat with my close friends in my close circle, and that's what it was. I was so overburdened, and I felt so worn out, so burnt out, because I was like, I'm gonna be the first gen student, I'm gonna be the best of the best, and little did I ever do to actually include my mental health, my physical health, my well-being, and that's something that I want to share with you students, because that was possibly the greatest turning point in my life. There's nothing else that I can give you where I realized that my well-being as a human, my physical and my mental wellness was just as important as everything else. To say that I was healthy, to say that I was thriving, was equally as excellent as doing all of the other things that I did. Right? Because I was so cascaded on being the best of the best, doing absolutely everything that I could because I wanted to be a standout student to some school that was going to possibly put me on a wait list. It was so stressful, and I ask you students that as you begin this journey into your universities, that you don't burn yourself